Well, looky here. You are listening to someone who is bold, authentic, diverse, unpredictable. Baby, I am unapologetically Ramon, and you have entered my zone, the QB zone, baby. Hello, somebody.
and 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 there's no objection.
I was excited to talk about HBCU specifically when I found out that someone that I've known for a few years went to a HBCU that I haven't met too many people from, but I specifically wanted to hear from the older generation. I am very clear and sure that going to a HBCU now in 2021 is different than whatever year my guest today went. And so I'm very excited to welcome my sister in Greekdom, who's a member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but a proud graduate of the Tuskegee University. Veronica Wade, how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. Fine, thank you.
Yes, goodness. I'm excited. I want to hear all about Miss Wade and how she ended up at Tuskegee. Did you know you want to go to HBCU? What was that like? How did you end up there?
Okay, I came from my parents, neither of my parents went to college. So it wasn't like, some families where they have a history of their parents attending college. I came from a working class family, but education was always stressed for us. And luckily for me, one of my next door neighbors when I was younger, I was under 10. She went to Tuskegee and I was just enamored by it. And she would talk about how much she liked it. So that always stuck in the back of my mind. Right. Fast forward to high school, and my volleyball coach was a recent graduate of Tuskegee, and she was a PE teacher and volleyball coach. And again, it came back to me again about Tuskegee. So at that point, I think it was kind of solidified for me. That's where I wanted to go. And at that time, it was Tuskegee Institute. So I was excited. I applied to several schools, Bethune-Cookman, Morris Brown, all-girls school in South Carolina called Hood, where I was going to play softball for them, so I thought, and Tuskegee. And again, not being very savvy and not having the extensive network that they have now, I hadn't heard from Tuskegee, but I had already turned down a couple of the other schools. Like, no, I'm not coming because I'm going to Tuskegee. Mind you, Tuskegee hadn't accepted me yet. So, and they did accept me, but it was late in the summer and I was really getting nervous, but they finally accepted me. So all is well. I got there. I remember driving up on campus and the big wall where they have this university name, it was Tuskegee. It wasn't Tuskegee Institute anymore, it was university. Okay. So I was like, when did this happen? And they changed from institute to university over that summer, the summer of 1985. I'm dating myself, which I don't mind because I'm not. But so fall of 85 was my freshman year at Tuskegee. And once I got there, I just knew this, I just wanted to be there. And I was just happy to be there. It just, everything about it was historic. It was fun. I was away from home. So that was kind of scary, but luckily I met a couple of my homegirls from Miami. Nice. And one young lady, she graduated from Central where I graduated, but the year before. So it was really good for me. And I just thoroughly enjoyed it. I just enjoyed being in Tuskegee, Alabama. Yes.
What was the culture like being in college in the 80s, dealing in the South? Mm-hmm. Did you, I'm sure being in, Tuskegee, everybody looked like us, for us, by us type of situation. Right. Did you have to deal with any racism when you would travel outside of where Tuskegee resides? What was that like, that culture in Alabama?
I'm sure it existed. Fortunately, I didn't really have to deal with a lot of racist things because Tuskegee, like you said, is a Black city. It's a predominantly Black city. The neighboring city was Auburn, where Auburn University is, and that's a predominantly white area. And then Montgomery is also, that's the capital of Alabama.
Right.
And I'm sure there were things that were there, but I never really dealt with racism, for full on, I will say, and luckily so. I do remember, I believe it was like my sophomore year, and that was the year Oprah went to Forsyth County, Georgia, and we all, they had buses chartered for us to go there so we could march, and we marched in that, and not really knowing the full gravity of it, but
right.
It was time to come back and it was getting dark and they were saying, y'all better get out of town. And so it was kind of scary, but we're on a bus. It's like, 3 bus loads of students and faculty from Tuskegee. So it wasn't scary, but it was still scary. That was the reality for me. And then I think the following year, my junior year, we went to Selma because it was found out that they had 2 tracks of education for kids in high school. So the white kids would get one curriculum and the Black kids would get another one. So we converged on Selma. And this was in I would say like 1988.
Wow.
So this wasn't too far ago.
Right.
And it was a big thing. It was on national news and everything. And we protested and they changed the education tracks in Alabama because they were still using that separate but equal kind of operating in, the late 80s, believe it or not.
What would you say are 3 things that you being a student at Tuskegee just really instilled these 3 things in you that have carried you throughout adulthood, personally and professionally?
Okay. First, responsibility, because it's where you grow up. So for me, I grew up there because I was away from home and I had to make my way. Again, I didn't come from an affluent family. So once you got that little piece of change, that was it, unless you had a job, which I did, a work study job. But responsibility would be my first thing I think it taught me. Secondly, it taught me how to I guess camaraderie and how to link up and network with people that you may have things in common with. So I would say it enhanced my networking abilities. And thirdly, I would say I already had pride in being Black, but it just instilled it into me more because I can name you some of the people that came to Tuskegee, like Louis Farrakhan, Jesse Jackson. I just met a plethora of people, Dr. Francis Chess Welsing, just, people that made you proud to be Black.
Absolutely.
And we're not going to even get into homecoming because that's just a whole nother thing. And I mean, I saw Phyllis Hyman in concert and Mickey Howard. I mean, it was just one of the best times of my life, and it was the best decision I ever made. So I would say responsibility, networking, and just pride in being Black. That's what the 3 things I got. Yes. And
it's so funny you said it because every person I've spoken to about HBCUs, I've always said that I get excited when I see the pride.
Yes.
I always say, I don't care what the conversation is. I don't care where you are. The pride that you guys have for your institution is amazing.
Yes.
It is infectious. It thrives you. Like I know, for example, going to a PWI, going to FIU, those aren't things that are instilled. Right. You have a plethora. It's a cornucopia of cultures,
Yeah.
And so you may have the Caribbeans over here, the Americans over here, a few people may mix and mingle.
Right.
But it's like everywhere you look and turn, you're being inspired by someone, whether it's the professors, whether it's the history of the school, whether you met someone, or if your fellow student, and they're inspiring you, you're inspiring each other to be the best you can be, and just the networking that the alumni association. It's
beautiful.
It's amazing.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it is. It really, really is. And funny you should say that because I will say this too. We had there were a group of kids, girls and students from the Bahamas. So, and they called themselves the Bahamian Connection. And at homecoming, believe it or not, the Junkaroos would be in our homecoming parade because they would transport their culture there. So we had people from other, Caribbean islands, in Africa, but I do know for sure, for me being a Miami girl, and when the Bahamians, we ran tight because we were just like, we are all from pretty much the same place. So we did have those different people from different, and for us, it was more states. So, we had the Florida crew, Florida Club. You had people from New York, the Chicago people, California. It was just something else. It was everything. Everything. It was.
Socially, what was it like? Like, what were the parties like? Because I could just Greek life and just partying, I'm sure, so much different than my generation can be a little, a little ignorant, a little careless. What was it like for y'all?
No, it was a little ignorant too, but it was just different because, we didn't have the things that kids have now. So, how we found out about a party?
What?
When they put the flyer up on campus.
The flyer on the wall. Oh, okay.
Right. It wasn't about social media and, posting it and this and that. It was word of mouth. And believe me, word of mouth works just as well as social media. And I mean, the parties just would be, it was just fun. It was just a lot of fun. Now, we've had situations and parties, because people fight and things happen.
Of course.
I remember there was one party that was being held in a house, and the house was a 3-story house. It was an older house. So there were people on the second floor, on the first floor, and in the basement. But there's also a third floor, but they weren't up there. And the first floor caved into the basement. I wasn't inside. I was outside, but you could just hear it.
Wow.
So we've had things like that happen, or of course a fight break out, and it's pandemonium, everybody running to get out.
Right.
So it had its moments now, and then you have like a classmate that was shot by someone. So it happens. It happened. Listen, it wasn't all. We always have that element that's going to happen. I think so. It just happens. It's a people thing. That's what people do. Yeah.
Did you have a college sweetheart?
I did not. I went to college. I was engaged to my high school sweetheart.
Oh,
but that didn't work out. Let me just say. And I don't even know where he is. He may still be in Fort Lauderdale because he's from Fort Lauderdale. But yeah, no, I didn't. I was just engaged the whole time. So, and then afterwards, it didn't work out.
Didn't work out.
No. And that's okay. I'm okay with it.
Absolutely, absolutely. What did you major in at Tuskegee?
Okay. Initially, I thought I was going to be a radiology technologist. And they had my freshman class was a small class. It was only 7 students.
Wow.
And the class before my class had 12 students. So they maintained the class by the number of students. So when we came in, they told us, unless we get some transfer students, your class cannot move forward because it's not a big enough class. And they were thinking about phasing out anyway because the classes were slowly getting smaller and smaller. So after my freshman year, I came back my sophomore year and they said, you have to make a decision. You can transfer. I could have transferred to the same program at FAMU or Howard. And I think I could have gone to Auburn too, or I can just stay at Tuskegee and change my major. So I changed my major to social work.
Okay.
And believe it or not, that should have been my major from the beginning.
From the beginning.
When you're young, you pick stuff that sounds impressive. I'm going to be a radiology technologist. Yes, no, social worker. And that's me. That's my life. That's my love. Yeah.
And did you live on campus all the years you were there, or did you ever live off campus?
I lived on campus my freshman, sophomore, and junior year. Okay. And then my senior year, and I did have an extended stay because I never stayed in Tuskegee for summer. I always would come home because I had to work. So I never took summer classes, and I ended up staying 2 years off campus. So yeah, or a year and a half because I finished in December. So yeah, a year and a half. So I did live off and on campus. I did both.
With on-campus housing at Tuskegee when you were there, was it co-ed or how was that structured? Did it have male dorms, female dorms?
No, there were strictly female dorms and male dorms. We did have one co-ed dorm, but it was usually for like married couples or a brother and a sister. If they could live like that, right? But it eventually they got to the point, and I still don't think they have any co-ed dorms there. Only if it's like the married couples. I know they did have a dorm like that for married couples.
Interesting. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say were 3 of your favorite memories during the time you were at Tuskegee?
Any one of the homecomings. I don't know why homecoming is just turn up. Even to now, I don't miss homecoming. Okay, I graduated over 25 years ago, and I think I've only missed 2 homecomings.
I know that's right.
I don't miss them. So definitely the best thing would be the homecoming. Second, I would say, because it was Tuskegee and the historic representation that it has, you know, a lot of professors or people would flock to Tuskegee. So like I say, we would get the who's who that would come and just want to, you know, lecture us or have a you know, so like I said, Farrakhan came there like 3 times, Jesse Jackson, Andrew Young, Bill Cosby was like my commencement speaker, you know.
Wow.
I mean, Jimmy Carter came there. It was just always somebody there. So I would just say, by virtue of it being I guess like a petri dish of just, you know, culture and
Absolutely.
education. And it was always a place that people wanted to be. So that, and I guess I'm gonna say my connections, my lifelong connections that I made with people. That's one of the
connected to this day.
This day right here. Like I just talked to my roommate. She's in Chicago. I just talked to her the day before yesterday. You know, so yeah, it's like that. It's just those connections. Yeah,
that is awesome. And one thing about Tuskegee that I just, you know, being an outsider, I've always felt like when it came to homecoming, any kind of concerts, any kind of lectures, comedy shows, it was always like Tuskegee, Fam, and Howard. I swear, y'all, and I would say Hampton sometimes, but y'all always had the best, like, who's who of Black Hollywood.
Yeah. Listen.
Oh my goodness.
I'm telling you, you look up and, you know, like, cause I don't know if you know the girl D. She was from What's Happening. She came to Tuskegee. She went to our vet school, but she was also a Delta at the time. So can you imagine you walking from class and the Delta's over there singing, and D from What's Happening is with the Delta singing, and you like, what? But that's how it was sometimes. You know, it's just like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
And it makes me think of the first time I met, I think my first famous Cap I ever met was Montel Jordan.
Okay.
And just growing up with the whole, this is how we do it. And, you know,
right.
Oh my God. And just to see this man that even before I became a Kappa, knew anything about a Kappa, I love that song.
Right.
You know, so of course, coming to the organization and just knowing all the famous Kappas, and he was the first one. I've met some others, more Marvin Sapp and Smoke and just, you know, some of the actors, but just excited to be walking around at a conclave, and like that's literally Montel Jordan, like just twirling and doing his thing, and so we're not gonna get there with me and Delta, okay? Because you know, I'll just say this: my one Delta thing. Oh, let me say this: I didn't pledge at Tuskegee because the Deltas were on and off the yard periodically while I was there. So that opportunity I did not have, but I did pledge in Miami alumni. And I remember my first national convention in Las Vegas, Dorothy Height was there. So she's a past president, everything, you know, civil rights icon. Right. It's Dorothy Height. So I bought her book and she was signing books. So I get in front of her and just break down, boohoo crying. And I told her, I said, I'm so sorry. I'm just taken aback. I've listened and read about you all my life. You are, you know, civil rights icon. Do you know, she said, I know, baby, but pull yourself together because I got people waiting on me. I was like, ooh. Dorothy got me together real quick. I said, right. Oh, that's amazing.
Yes.
Mama said, I got stuff to do.
Right. Yeah. And you holding up my progress boots. So come along, Sarah. Pull yourself together. Let me sign this book and carry on. And we took a picture and everything. She's very gracious, but she said,
right.
you know, like, grandma, get it together, baby. Come on. That was my thing.
I can only imagine what your first time going back to Tuskegee after becoming a Delta. I can only imagine what that was like. Oh,
it was really good. And I remember my good friend Randolph. I just talked to him yesterday. He's in Atlanta. He's originally from Miami, but he's in Atlanta now. And he was like, and you getting in the circle and I'm taking this picture. He said, because I know you. I was like, bruh, am I? And got in the circle and boo-hoo cried. Because I'm a whole crybaby anyway. Boo-hoo cried. But
just that connection, that pride that you have.
It was beautiful. And then, like you say, for them to, they're a little, you know, but come on in. We sisters now, so come on down. Come on down. So it was beautiful. It was. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. That's a beautiful thing.
I really, really, you just bring me so much. I'm a visual person. So I'm just visualizing all these great moments in history. And that's why I was so excited to just talk to someone, you know, who came from a different generation. That is amazing. That is amazing. Wow. Do you ever, let me back up. Let's say you were to meet a girl who wants to go to college, concerned, don't know nothing about HBCUs, nothing about Tuskegee, but wants more, searching for knowledge, wants more. What would you tell her about HBCUs that experience Tuskegee?
I would, it's wherever you go. It's just that my ship landed at Tuskegee, but what HBCUs offer us is not only the history, because remember, a lot of these institutions were made at a time where Black people, we always persevere. You know, we don't have a lot, but whatever little bit we have, we make do with it. And it has grown into all of these institutions now. So I would tell any young person, you know, consider, you know, can you, and I don't want to say don't think about the price, because I couldn't afford to go to Tuskegee. Right. But for some reason, that wasn't in the forefront for me. I just was there. And I thank God it worked out, because like I said, my parents didn't have that kind of money. They didn't have a college fund for me. I had to make it happen. Right. But do your research. And you have to be able to disconnect from where you are or where you are. So if you're from Miami, and don't get me wrong, even now living here, but I love my home and I'm going to be back there. Right. But you have to disconnect from home to immerse yourself where you are and work on that. So I it's big about that. Disconnect yourself and don't come with preconceived notions. Find out for yourself. Don't let what somebody else, even me, tell you. Right. I had a blast. I know people who went to Tuskegee and hated
a different experience. Oh, wow.
Right. So, you know, but for me, that's my experience. But I would tell a young person to just be open-minded, and you have to work. It's going to be hard. Right. But young people, like I said, you all have a lot of things that we didn't have. You know, we had to like go to the laundromat and that kind of stuff. Now they have laundry rooms in their dorms, and they have tables in the dorms. We didn't have that kind of stuff.
Listen, you know? I had one in my room on campus.
Oh, see, no.
So I didn't have to go downstairs. I had my senior year. I had one in my room.
Oh, look at you. Yes.
But no, I get what you mean, though. I definitely get what you mean.
Yeah, you know, and I didn't have a car, so we had to walk to the grocery store or walk this. You know, you had to walk, and it was okay. It didn't kill you. You know,
and it was stronger.
It's just a good experience. Now I wouldn't do it now, trust me, because I'm old now. I ain't walking nowhere. But yeah, I would just tell a young person to just, you know, do your research and immerse yourself in that environment, because it can be so much. It's really exciting.
And it's amazing that you mentioned, you know, you couldn't even afford Tuskegee, and I think that's something that's interesting to point out, because when I was looking over the myths, just Googling, just want to see what people have to say about the myths of HBCU, because there's a lot of them. And that was one of them, that Black people go to HBCU because they can't afford a PWI. Not knowing that, heck, you can't even afford some of the HBCUs, because when you talk about public versus private, some of these private HBCUs are vastly much more expensive than the PWI public school. So it has nothing to do with the fact that we couldn't afford a PWI. We couldn't afford some of the schools that, you know, that you guys went to, but you made it happen. You made it happen.
Yeah, I did. I did. And I thank God. Like I said, it's one decision I made that I'm glad I made it. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. It was going to Tuskegee and toughing it out because it got tough, got lean. Money was funny, you know.
But you didn't give up and run back to Miami.
Oh, no. And I just thank God that it worked out for me. Because like I said, I have friends who it didn't work out for them that way, you know. So I am grateful for that, too, that it did work out.
Right.
I am.
Miss Wade, I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
You know what I like so much from the first moment, because those who don't know, we used to, I guess you say, work together. My job was, you know, we benefited each other. But yes. From the first moment I met you in that old room at the old courthouse, you was just always so helpful. So helpful. And sometimes, you know, dealing with the judges in different situations, I would need stuff at the last minute. I'd be like, Miss Wade, I need a little favor. But you were always so helpful. Even before we even knew about the whole Greek stuff. Just you as a human being. So I really always like that about you. I always did.
I try. Well, because some people say I'm mean but I'm just me, you know.
You don't have time for foolishness.
That part.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. So it was good catching up with you.
Thank you. And I appreciate talking about my beloved Mother Tuskegee.
Amen.
Anytime.
So when talking about everything and anything HBCU, I was very excited to find out that my next guest graduated from an HBCU, but specifically one outside of the norm for me that I usually meet people. So next up, we have Mr. Jay Clarke. What's going on, Jay?
What's going on, brother?
Hey, man, taking these. Glad to have you here. Glad you up to this conversation. Share your knowledge of HBCUs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So who is Jay Clarke? Where'd you come from, and how did you ended up at the great Clarke Atlanta University?
Well, let me see. I'm me. That's all I can be, you know. So I'm born and raised. Well, I was born in Georgia, unfortunately. I was a military brat. My dad and my mom was both in the Army. That's where they met. I was actually born at Fort Benning, Army base in Columbus, Georgia. And then my parents got divorced when I was like 2. And then she moved back home to Jersey. And I grew up from like 2 till I graduated high school in Jersey. And that's me. That's where I come from. You know, I'm just me. I mean,
So you basically returned home when you came to Clarke, when you came to Georgia for college. It was like returning home. Kind of.
Nah, I don't claim Georgia as home because, like I said, I was 2. So, you know, I don't think nothing about Georgia. But I mean, you know, technically, yeah, you know, I came back home. But yeah, and plus, like my dad, he still lived in Georgia. So I used to, when I was growing up, I used to go visit him every summer. So I guess returning halfway home, I guess.
What made you choose Clarke Atlanta? What was it about Clarke Atlanta?
So I'm from Jersey. Like, with the part of Jersey I'm from, like, you don't really see HBCUs. Like, honestly, I ain't know nothing about HBCUs until of course, you know about, you know, the popular ones like Howard, Hampton. You know, you hear about all those because, you know, the popularity and the alumni people. But you know, where I come from in Newark, like, you don't really hear about HBCUs. Hell, you don't really hear about college. So my church, they did a college tour every year. And I finally went my junior year, and I know we started at FAM. Actually, we drove the bus went from Jersey to FAM, and then it kind of like made the loop back up and stopping at the schools on the way back up to Jersey.
Right.
And I went to FAM, I went to Tuskegee, I went to a couple of other ones, and then we stopped at Atlanta, and I fell in love with Atlanta instantly. I was like, oh, this place is nice. And then when I went to the campus, I'm like, And then my last name is Clarke, so I said,
Right.
And then, you know, because we had Morehouse across the street, which is all dudes. You got Spelman, right across the street, that was all females. And you had, back when Morris Brown was accredited, we had Morris Brown up the hill, and then Clarke Atlanta was like in the middle. Like, I don't know if you ever been up there before, but like, have you ever been up there before?
Yeah, I've been there a few times.
Okay, so you know, like, it's the circle, and then CAU was like in the middle, like the hub.
Right.
So when we was there, it was like a Friday night, and like everybody was hanging out on the strip, and I was like, damn, okay, hey, I could do this shit. Then I see the girls walking around. I'm like, oh, okay. So I made that pretty much made my decision, man.
That's it, the deal for you.
Yeah, then we went on the way back up. I had called my mom's on the payphone. You know, we didn't have cell phones back then. Like,
yeah,
hey,
that's true.
I made my choice. She said, what you gonna do? I said, I'm going to Clarke Atlanta. She's like, what's that? I said, we talk about it when I get home. And then, you know, went back home, talked to my football coach. We got some videotapes together, and, you know, VHSs back then. And we sent it down, and 6 months later, I applied, SATs, whatever, football scholarship, and I was gone.
That's dope. That's dope. And so you were at Clarke Atlanta for what years? What years were you there?
I started in 2000 and I graduated in 05.
Okay.
Yeah, I was on a 5-year plan.
Hey, listen, as long as you finish, it's for some people it takes longer than that.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people talk about just the pride that HBCU grads have, and I've noticed that pride can be infectious. It never dies, and I've always thought it was an amazing thing how no matter where I'm at, no matter what the conversation entails, if you meet a person who has graduated, you guys light up. It takes over y'all whenever you talk about your respective, university. What would you say were 3 things that Clarke Atlanta really instilled in you, that you really just benefited and was rewarded by being
there? 3 things. Wow, I ain't even thought about that before. Damn. 3 things. Brotherhood is one, because I embarked on some stuff there that I'm pretty sure that'll come up later. So brotherhood was one. Just maturing a little bit and just becoming a man of my own, because like I left home. We graduated in high school June 25th, 2000, and then July 17th I was in Atlanta. So I was as soon as I graduated, I was gone. So
it was no time.
it was just me and Mom's growing up my whole life. You know what I'm saying? So when I left, it was like I was lost for like the first couple of months, because I was like, damn, I miss my mama. But then as I started, playing football and getting to know people and all the females running around, that got me in some trouble. But yeah. Yeah. So I mean, that's what it is. So brotherhood, maturity, and just becoming a man.
Right. Did you have to deal with any obstacles or hurdles? I'm pretty sure being from up north, there might have been some aspect of lifestyle in the South, may or may not have been for you, that was maybe a culture shock or just took some getting used to. Did you face any hurdles or anything when you moved down here with Clarke?
Honestly, not really. Because like where I grew up in Newark, it's a like 97% Black, right? So we got like a little small community over here that's like Cuban, little small community that's Hispanic. It's very, very little white people. Like I didn't really see white people at all. Like all my teachers were Black. And then, when I went to Clarke Atlanta, of course, it's 99% Black. But then, as we start going out to the malls and to the city, like I'm not going to say, I didn't really experience racism at first, but it was kind of like the looks that we was getting. And it was kind of weird to me. And like where I come from, hey, you look at me a certain way, I'm going to have some words for you.
It's going to be a problem, right?
It's going to be a problem. But then like some people that was actually from Atlanta that I used to hang out with, they had to kind of school me on how, people down there always speak to you. Like where I come from, like if I don't know you, me and you can walk down the street, we're not going to speak.
Right.
Like if me and you walking down the same street, one of us going to drop our head, or we're just going to do the little head nod and we're going to keep moving. Like, we walk by each other, you know what I'm saying? And you look at me in my face, like, what the fuck you looking at? So that was like the biggest culture shock. It was like, I guess the people who, I guess they're nicer down here.
Yeah.
They're
the Southern hospitality.
Friendly. Yeah, because it took me about a year to get used to that. Because I would go home on break, and then people was like, man, you too nice now. So then I would revert back to how I was, and then it was a struggle, man. But that was probably one of the biggest hurdles. And then the first time I ever experienced racism was at the mall one day. It was in Macy's, I believe, and it was me and a couple of guys. We was in line, and then we heard these people behind us say, "What these niggas doing in the store today? What y'all feeling?" And we was like, "What?" And I cussed the damn. He was probably about 65 years old, and I cussed his ass out.
I was gonna ask what you did.
I cussed his ass out because, like I said, that was the first time. I mean, of course, you hear about it, but where I came from, that was racism.
Right.
It was never. It was non-existent up there because everybody was the same. So when I saw it, that was a humbling experience.
That's crazy.
That's very humbling.
I know for me, going to a PWI, looking back in hindsight, I always feel like I did myself a disservice because I've always felt like there were some things that I missed out on. I feel like there were some ways that HBCU grads, your university just enhanced you on certain levels. That I feel like being a person of color at a non-Black school, you don't get that. I will say when I really realized how much of a huge difference going to a PWI was compared to HBCU was after I pledged. And I know that I went to an HBCU the semester before, and it happened to be FAMU. And it was just like a whole nother world, a whole nother culture. Mm-hmm. And so joining the organization and then traveling post and just seeing how everything gets down at these HBCUs, it's a whole different culture, you know. And, you know, I also am very, very proud to say that, you know, we are both proud members of Kappa Alpha Psi Fraternity Incorporated. So that's also another reason why I absolutely had to have you on here. For me, Greek life and being a new definitely transformed my college experience. Did it enhance yours in any way? I'm pretty sure you know you had a lifestyle, you had a social life, but what was that like? Did you know especially coming from up north, did you know first of all that you wanted to be Greek? And being Greek at a HBCU, what was that experience like?
You know, School Days, of course. You know, School Days was one of my favorite movies growing up. So I knew about A Phi A. That's all I really knew.
Right.
At the time, I thought that Gamma Phi Gamma was real. I didn't know. You know, so, you know, when I got to school, when I got down there, I was like, I kind of wondered in my head, I'm like, I want to be like the guys from School Days. And then, you know, School Days was recorded at Clarke Atlanta too. So I was like, well, okay, you know what? It was recorded there. I'm gonna do Alpha. But that's all I knew was Alpha and Gamma Phi Gamma, and I forgot the other one. I forgot the other one from the movie. That's all I knew. I thought they was real.
Right.
So when I got down there, I seen A Phi A. I seen all of them pretty much my first week when I was in processing. I think one of my I forgot what they call them. The upperclassmen who stay with the freshmen. I forgot what they call them. But whatever, there's like a little team. So I forgot what orientation. I forgot what they call them though.
Uh-huh.
And one of those, and it was crazy though, because like it seemed like almost all of them was Greek. So I think two of the guys was Kappas, one of the other guys was a Q, and I think the one female in our group, she was a Delta. So just like, of course, you know, they're not really supposed to be talking about Greek life with us, we brand new freshmen, but of course it comes up. People was asking questions, whatever. So I was listening to them. Then I started doing my own research, and then I started meeting a couple of people here and there. And then I made my decision about 6-7 months later. And then, you know, that long, Lord, I just had a flashback. Yeah. Back in 2001 was a little different than it is now. Absolutely. Yeah, that was long. That was a long. Let's say that's a long 9 months. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So, but then you know, once I went over, man, it really wasn't that different. My popularity, of course, jumped up by 1,000. But I was already pretty much known because I'm very outspoken and I like to talk shit and crack jokes, and I play football. Right. And I play football, so I was already kind of known. But when I went over, it just enhanced it like 10 times more. And then, you know, as we travel into the different schools, the different conventions, and it was just like, wow, okay. And then, so we went, you know, Georgia Tech is a PWI, but, you know, we got a chapter there too. So we would do a lot of stuff with them. And it's crazy how, you know, where Georgia Tech was only like 20 minutes down the street, if that. Right. And it's just like the culture of the D9 on Georgia Tech versus the culture of Clarke is different. Like I'm not gonna say they don't do the same thing, but they're looked at differently. Because you know, over there you got Kappa and whoever and them 2-letter organizations and all that stuff. So they kind of get overshadowed by that stuff. But you know, just over the years, it's just traveling to different schools and, you know, talking to people that didn't go to HBCUs that went over and not only Kappa but other organizations is pretty much a different thing.
When it comes to HBCUs, of course, we always hear this HBCU versus PWI talk. And I think that what I've loved so much about it is that over the past few years, just noticing how more and more highly influential people in medicine, engineering, and different areas were products of HBCUs. And of course, we know, you know, because of who's in the White House with Kamala, that is now at another level. And I think that's great to see how people like Keisha or Stace and just so many others are really taking that HBCU, the quality of it, to a different level and showing that the quality has always been here. The achievements have always been here. Because of the color of our skin, we all know how that works with, you know, us being diminished and what we really bring to the table. So one of the things that I noticed, and I want to get your opinion of, is some of the myths that I noticed that people have about HBCUs. And so a few of them that I came across was alumni are robbed of the ability to network. What do you think about that one?
I don't see that because I'm not as active as in the alumni life as I used to be because I got a lot going on. But once I first graduated, I say probably the first 4 or 5 years after I graduated before I went to the Army, it was great because especially with the brotherhood too. I guess it kind of went hand in hand. So my experience might be a little different from somebody who's non-Greek, but I've never had a problem with if I ever needed something, if I ever needed to get something from the school or the school needed something from me, I was always there. So I never really had any issues with it, honestly.
Yeah.
But that could be because the Greek lifestyle and they all kind of tie in. So I mean I guess that might be the reason why, if that is an issue.
I could definitely say with networking, that's been amazing in the organization. I mean, that's probably been easily one of my top 3 favorite things about our organization is just the networking and just how consistent it always is. I've been in other countries and come across bros. I've been in situations and a complete stranger can, help you out and don't know you from Adam, but you share the organization. So yeah, I've always thought that was amazing. Networking to me has always, and even when I talk about people who are interested, that's always one of the first things that I mention is just the network and just how it's eternal. Like it doesn't end. And I don't care where you turn. It is literally always there. I don't care what the field is, what the issue is, good, bad, and indifferent. The network is definitely always there. What do you think about the concept, which I hate this one. When I saw that this was one of them, I hated it, but we can't afford, those who go to HBCUs can't afford PWIs.
Yeah.
That's stupid because some of y'all expensive as hell.
So again, coming from up north, I didn't understand the difference between a private institution and a public institution. So in my head, in my mother's head, because I told you my dad lived in Georgia still.
Right.
We thought we was going to use my dad's address as an in-state, resident, so we can get that big discount.
Absolutely.
But I didn't realize that Clarke, Morehouse, Spelman, and Morris Brown is all private institutions. And I said, this was in the year 2000, and just for, I think my freshman year total was almost like $25,000. That's what, room and board, the meal plan you got to get your freshman year, whatever. That's like, it was $20-some thousand.
Right.
So, no, hell no. I mean, now some of the public HBCUs, the smaller ones, it might be a lot.
Yeah.
But, you're talking about going to one of the major ones that's private? No.
Absolutely.
No.
Yeah.
That's why I'm hoping my son don't go to one. I can't.
I know, right? Because I know quite a few PWIs are quite cost effective. So I thought that was a dumb excuse. What do you think about lack of academic competitiveness?
That's always been. I mean, I don't believe that, but that's always a stigma. They look at us. I always tell my soldiers who they want, because we got Fayetteville State, that's HBCU here in Fayetteville, and it's like literally 10 minutes down the street from the base. So I try to encourage a lot of these guys, especially the black kids, to go to HBCU, go to Fayetteville State, or go to what's that one up? A&T, which is like an hour away.
Yeah.
So, and I tell them, a lot of people think bad about HBCUs. I say, me and you could be neck and neck as far as how smart we are. But if I walk in there with a degree from Syracuse and you walk in a degree from, let's say, FAMU or Clarke Atlanta, and I could be 10 times more qualified than you, but you'll probably get that job because of what school you went to. And it sucks. And I think that's always going to be a stigma. But now, honestly, with the culture changing, like you said, what Kamala doing, what she did when she was in the White House,
right?
The culture is changing. You got athletes, you got major athletes now going to HBCUs, and I think when Deion Sanders took over that college program down there,
I thought that was great.
It's actually shining a different light on HBCUs, and I know I think LeBron's son is thinking about going to HBCU. So a lot of these star athletes are actually starting to go to HBCU. So now that culture might start. It might not happen in our lifetime or when we get a lot older.
Right.
But I'm probably saying about the next 20 to 30 years, if these HBCUs still, holding up to their true tradition, it's gonna be a different world out here because it's definitely shining a light. And I'm proud of Deion Sanders for taking that program, and I think they undefeated right now. I think they averaging almost 50,000 people a game right now.
Absolutely.
But I don't know. But that stigma, man, of me going to HBCU and you going to a PWI, you know, your education is so-called better, you know.
And it's simply because of the color of the skin.
Exactly.
Simply because of that.
And HBCUs are still not like nationally recognized by a lot of people, by a lot of areas. And then again, it depends on where you at too, though. You know, because so in the South, like they saturated with HBCUs from Virginia on down to Florida, Alabama, right? Shit. No, I think when me and Shanitra looked it up, I think North Carolina has the most HBCUs.
Oh, wow.
It's like 12 of them here.
Dang. Okay.
Yeah. Some of them are small. There's a lot of them. You got Shaw, you got Fayetteville, you got A&T, you got Central, you got shit. I can't even think of all of them. The one in it's like what's one in Charlotte? It's like 12 of them here. So then you got, you know, South Carolina got Benedict and whatever else they got down there.
Right.
And Georgia got Clarke, Morehouse, Spelman, Fort Valley, Valdosta State, Savannah State, and then, you know, Florida got FAM and whatever else y'all got down there. So
Flomo and Bethune.
Right. So the South is more, you know, saturated with HBCUs. Now, in the South, it might not be that big of a difference depending on who you're trying to work for. But, you know, if you go up north, let's say you went to, what's one of the most popular schools? Let's say you went to Howard or Hampton, the two most, you know, most known. And then from like, you know, Nevada or some shit, or you from like California, it's not gonna really hold no weight because there's the culture is not out there. But if you're in the South, it's a whole different world. And me still living in the South, I told my parents when I graduated I would never come back home to live. I'm living.
And you never went back home.
I go home to visit, and that's it. But it's just, you know, me living here, I actually see like the HBCUs and the quality of people that they're getting is different. But going home, it's not going to happen. It's going to be a big difference.
Right. And I've always felt like, or observed that whenever I'm in cities where there are HBCUs, it seems as if HBCUs feed that city's economy more than the PWI does. You know, they're there, the PWI, there exists, whatever. But it really seems like the HBCUs don't just breed leaders and feed into the future, but that community where you exist. And I've always felt that was an amazing thing, giving back to the community where you resided.
Yep. So prime example, Georgia Tech. So Georgia is just one of the major institutions in the world. But, you know, even when I was living there, like you don't really hear about that. You don't really hear about, you know, Georgia Tech out here, you know, picking up trash on the side of the road or having different mentorships for high schools. I mean, it might be certain organizations on that campus who do that, but as a whole, like I know at Clarke Atlanta, we actually adopted a middle school when I was there. The school did, and we spent a lot of time at the schools. We spent a lot of time at like after school, like camps in the summertime with the kids. So we actually gave back a lot. But like Georgia Tech, if it was happening, it wasn't known. It wasn't known. And then, you know, like here in Fayetteville, like Fayetteville State, they do a lot for the city of Fayetteville. You know, Fayetteville is predominantly Black too.
Right.
And that school is very, very involved, and especially all the Greek life. They're very, very involved. Everything that's going on in the city. Hell, I think the mayor and all of them, they all Greek too. So, I mean, it brings a whole different lifestyle here.
Absolutely. One of my favorite things I liked about HBCUs was Greek life in regards to intake and the amount of people. So, for example, my school, going to a PWI down here in Miami, where first of all, it's a melting pot because you have, you know, people from all different types of cultures.
Right.
Of the frats, I would say up until my line in 05, you might have had like 5 or 6 people, and we were 9. So that was like a big thing with just 9 people. Since then, the biggest has been like 15 or 16. HBCUs, y'all can have a good 30, 40 on one line. And I've always thought that was just the craziest concept for multiple reasons that, you know, me and you can't share. We won't dare share openly. But what is that like? Just from like witnessing probate shows and being a bystander, like 30, 40 some people. How long does the probate show last? 2, 3 hours? I'm joking, but I mean, like,
yeah, you about right, though. You about right. So when I let me put this in the right way. You never know who's watching. When we expressed interest, it was 21 of us. by the time we got done, it was 7. But we'll talk about that offline one day.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then after that, no, we got suspended. Chapter got suspended for a minute, and yada yada yada. And then we didn't have I was 01. We didn't have another line until 04.
Okay.
And it was 21 of them. It was 21 Redeemers of the Dream. I was a dean on that line.
Nice.
And yeah. So their probate show was. Dang, I can't say that either. It was. It started with a P, ended with an R. You got me?
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Because they was just coming back, so it was different. But then it was ever since then. Because remember when I forgot what year it was. I think it happened down at FAM when I think it was a Kappa had got killed during the process. I think something about some water or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then like everybody's been kind of do things a little differently. So
right.
It's a little bit different now. And I've seen lines for all these organizations. Hell, 25, 27, 33, and it's like, wow,
yeah,
it's amazing. I mean, I like it,
mm-hmm.
but at the same time, me being matter of fact, what's today's date? The 9th. Shit, next week could be 20 years.
Yeah,
me being old school. I can't.
It's hard to wrap your head around it to a certain degree. Yeah,
you know where I'm going with that.
Yeah.
It's just.
Because I was just content with the 9 of us. Just to think 20 or 30, y'all tripping.
And I was good with the 7 of us. That was official. But the others, man, trying to learn all, man, hell no. but that's the norm now, bro. And then I look at the alumni chapters here in different places who I communicate with,
mm-hmm.
and they pushing out big ass lines too. Well, we ain't had none in a while because of COVID. But I know
right.
I think the last line that the alumni chapter here pushed out was in 19, and it was 16 of them.
Wow.
And out of those 16, 15 was military. So
really, that's dope.
Mm-hmm. So one thing about, like I said, where I'm at Fort Bragg, Delta's got an actual alumni chapter here on base.
That is awesome.
So they got one on base, they got one in the city, and they got 2 in Raleigh. So they got like 7 chapters in like an hour radius. So, and they pushing out a lot of people too.
Mm-hmm.
So is Sigma. That's Sigma and Zeta. I don't know what the hell they got.
That the blue and white. Yeah.
They got a lot of stuff.
When did you join the military?
07.
Okay.
Yep. Got a question for you though. IOTA. So did y'all have any IOTAs on your campus?
So here's the interesting thing about IOTAs. We did not. When I pledged, I was in my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
I'll lie to you not. I did not know what an IOTA was until we had crossed. So you're talking about junior year, and a nearby school, they was having a probate show.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh. And I was talking about my RA at the time was a Delta. And then another cat I was cool with, we lived in the same building. He was an Alpha. And so I'm like, oh, not to be fun about, like, I didn't know what it was.
I got you.
Because growing up where me and Shanitra from, all we knew about was Qs and Deltas. And then just because I have them in my family, I knew about AKs and Kappas. And so I said, okay, I'm going to, of course, the Alpha and the Delta talk trash. So I said, I'm going to go to the probate show. Very different. Just very different. But I honestly, my school didn't get IOTAs until maybe 6-7 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. We never had them. We never had them. It was just, when I was a freshman, it was just, as far as active, it was just Alphas was the only frat. Zetas was the only sorority. And then in the same academic year, you got us, the Qs, AKAs, and then the Sigmas came back shortly after. But no, I never knew what IOTA was my first 3 years of college.
Wow. Okay. So quick story. So we didn't have none on Clarke, but I think Morehouse had 2 or 3, and they were actually pretty cool. They gave me hell because one of them we came in and we went to high school together, and we came to college. And he was legacy. His dad was IOTA, so he was legacy.
Okay. Right.
So he went ahead and did it, and then he tried to get me. I said, man, get the hell out of here. I don't even know what the hell y'all. 1968 or whatever year I came out. So, so it was like 3 or 4 of them on the yard at Morehouse and yada, yada, yada. Then, they started growing and growing. I think by the time I graduated, it might have been like 20 between all the schools.
Okay.
So the funny thing about it is, bro, so I went home. One of my good friends played Sigma back home in Jersey.
Okay.
So I went home for one of them breaks, spring break or Christmas. It was one of them breaks. And he like, hey man, what you doing this weekend? I said, nice. Hey man, they had the IOTA's having a step show. No, they're having a step show down at my school. He went to Trenton State. It's a PWI also.
Mm-hmm.
He went to Trenton State University. He's like, hey man, they're having a step show, man. Come on down. Blah blah blah. I'm like, fuck it, I ain't doing nothing else. Okay, whatever.
Right.
Bro, I kid you not. The IOTAs up north is a problem.
Mm.
Them dudes up there, they are serious, and there's like 1,000 million of them.
Yeah.
And their step show, like,
yeah.
The alphas and the sigmas are real precise with their steps, but them damn IOTAs,
yeah,
bruh, them dudes, they won. I think they had won that step show the last 4 years when that year I was up there.
Yeah.
They were, and I had never seen them like that. I said the most I might have seen at one time was like 3.
Yeah.
And I say there was probably a half a gym full of them. I was like, oh, so that's when I started looking more to him. Like, what the hell are y'all? Then,
right.
One of my good friends that's in the Army with me, matter of fact, he's supposed to be crossing today.
Okay.
IOTA.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been waiting for a post. I don't know if it happened or not.
Right.
He's supposed to. I got his little gift over there on the table. I've been waiting for him. But me and him talking because his uncles, he got 2 uncles as Kappas. They was mad at him because he didn't go Kappa. But the main reason he told me is because he's military, and out of their, I think they got 8 founders or whatever, like 5 of them were military.
Wow. So
that's when he said that military affiliation, and then
that was
I didn't know. Right, and I didn't know how big of an impact they played in the civil rights movement too. And he started explaining a bunch of stuff to me. I was like, oh, okay.
Right.
So I respect him a lot more now. Like I said, when I went to Jersey, bro, and I seen about 150 of them, and they won like the step show 4 years in a row. I was like,
yeah.
damn.
The first time I met IOTAs from up north, it was definitely a whole different experience. Mm-hmm. Never would have thought. Nope. And even like I remember the first time I went to FSU, they used to have this event area called Greek Extract. I don't know if you remember from back when you was in Clarke. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time I went to Greek Extract, and like everybody were like dressed to the T. To the point where, an alpha and a Q, you kind of, an alpha and a new, you kind of expect them to dress a certain way. You expect it. Mm-hmm. But I remember just seeing everybody, the Qs, like it was just a whole different environment. Everybody's dressed to the T, and they take their image very seriously. And I was just at FSU. So just seeing, IOTAs up north and just that whole, how their image was different. Have you ever noticed that in our organization where you went to certain geographic areas and was like, oh, this is not what I'm typically used to from the bros?
And that's what it was like. When I go to Jersey, I don't see many Kappas.
Yeah.
I don't see many Qs. I see mostly Sigmas and IOTAs. When you come a little further down south, you see the Qs and the Kappas pick up, and then get a little further, IOTAs kind of fall off. But then it's pretty much Sigma. And even North Carolina, there's Qs here, but not that many Qs here. But it's mostly Sigmas and Kappas.
During your time at Clarke Atlanta, what would you say is one of your favorite stories that you're willing to actually share?
Favorite story at Clarke? Damn, I don't need it. It was so long, 20 years. Oh man, okay, I got it. Damn. So my junior year, I was the only one in my little crew that had a car. I had bought me a little '89 Buick LeSabre with my refund check, and we had just crossed. We was all fresh, and we trying to get into everything, right? So my homegirl, she went to Tuskegee. She's like, hey, we having. She was a Delta. Like, we having a party Thursday night. I'm like, man, I ain't driving no damn Tuskegee. I got class in the morning. Right, like, come on, I had some girls waiting for y'all. I'm like, say less.
Right, that's all you had to say.
That's all you had to say. I said, we fresh. We not even 4 months out of the womb yet. You know what I'm saying? We brand new. So we, all right, bet, let's get it. So we drove out the damn Alabama, had a good time. Then we left about midnight. They started heading back. And we driving. And I'll never forget, Opelika, Alabama. Driving through Alabama, my damn tire went flat.
Oh no.
It's 1:30 in the morning. We on I-20. No, was it I-20? 85, whatever how it was going. And it was so damn pitch black dark. I'm from New York. I'm from Jersey. Other dude in my car from New York. Other guy from Philly. Ain't none one of us know how to change no damn tire. I ain't never even seen nobody change a tire before. Cause up north we don't really have cars. We got trains.
Right.
I ain't know how to change no damn tire. So we all looking at each other. So we was like, okay, we ain't had YouTube back then. So we went to the trunk. I knew I had a spare tire back there. Pulled that out. That shit had no air in it. It was flat.
Oh dang.
So long story short, man, we sat there on the side of the road for like an hour. And I said, look, it's an exit about a mile down. We try to drive on it. So we drove real slow. You see is the damn rubber from the tire all over, flying off the car. Pulled over to an exit, and we got ripped off. And we got ripped off by this old country guy with no teeth. He charged us. It was a little shop. He charged us $600 for one tire to put it on the rim and put it on the car. So just so we can get back to class the next day.
Wow.
And when I had drove to New Orleans a few months ago over to Christmas to go pick up my son.
Right.
And the way I came back, it took me through Opelika, Alabama. That's the first time I had been there since that day.
Since then. Oh wow.
And when I was driving, I was like, Opelika. I said, oh hell no. I sped up. I just had a flashback, man. And then it's crazy. Every time me and those guys get together and we talk about it, that story always comes up.
Man, that's good y'all had the $600 though between y'all. Like what the hell if y'all didn't have the $600? That's crazy. We'd
have been asked out. I only had about 200 because we had took some money down there with us,
Of course, yeah.
Or whatever. But
yeah,
it was interesting. That's probably my biggest memory of that place, man. Or then
that is funny.
So we had like when you come in as a freshman, all four schools had their orientation the same week for the freshmen. And then at the end of that week, that Friday or that Saturday night, they have a big block party called Operation Olive Branch. And it always happens on Clarke Atlanta's football field. And I remember that's just when I met my damn son's mama. First week of school, I was coming out the bathroom and I had tissue on my damn shoe. She's like, hey, you got tissue on your shoe? I looked down, I said, damn. And then me and her kicked it from there,
Right.
Now she got a son. But yeah, I mean, it was interesting times there, man.
That's dope.
I was there when they shot Drumline. When Drumline was recorded, we was there.
Wow.
As soon as it was my freshman year, as soon as football season was over, we went home for Christmas break. And we came back. That shit didn't say CAU. It said Atlanta A&T. We was like, what the hell?
Like, what the hell is this? Yeah.
About a couple of weeks later, they started shooting and stuff like
That's
that.
Dope.
And we was actually getting paid $50 a day just to sit in the stands and be extras.
Wow. But how long did it take them to film the movie?
So the majority of it was filmed at Clarke Atlanta, between Clarke Atlanta and the Georgia Dome. They was there pretty much the whole winter.
Wow. Okay.
They was there from like January till about April. I think they wrapped it up right before we got a class that year. So around April.
That is dope.
We got to meet Nick Cannon, Jason. We got to meet all of them.
Right.
It was right
that
there,
is
man.
Awesome. Man, listen. Noob, I really appreciate you sharing this and agreeing to do this. This was dope. We could do this all night long, man. But yeah,
I know we can't.
Especially when you start to share some Greek stories. But yeah, man, this was great. And like I said, I don't meet too many people from Clarke. But you gave us a good. I wish the people could experience the good old DMX mix you gave us earlier. So shout out to him. But yeah, I'm glad you took time out and helped out with this, man. Really appreciate it.
No problem, hey, man. If you ever need me again, man, just shoot me a text or call. I got you, brother.
Absolutely.
I love history. One of the reasons why I love talking to folks that I consider old school is because of the knowledge and wisdom, but also above all, the stories they have to tell. Some of my favorite moments and memories are conversation and interactions that I have had with those who came before me. I've witnessed some of the best stories from folks that I could listen to for hours. My next guest has become one of those people with all of the HBCU stories and history that he gave me. Although I'm not going to share the entire conversation, I wish I could, please enjoy a different perspective, a different conversation than that of my other guests. He is my fraternity brother. He has also experienced multiple HBCUs, specifically Albany State, where he graduated from, and he is Charles Frazier.
There's a slogan that Savannah State uses. You can get anywhere from here. I tell people all the time, I say that could apply to every HBCU. There's nothing that we can't do because we have the skill set. We may not have the nice updated facilities and all, but it's in our DNA at this current time. It's in our DNA to succeed. And I tell people all the time, I say, you know, I'm one of the few people who can say I'm personal friends with 2 college presidents, 2 HBCU presidents. One of them was my fraternity brother, Denmark Tech. I pledged him. And then you got Edward Waters. He went to Albany State. He's 41 years old. He's the president of a college.
Wow.
I got a vice provost over at Alcorn. I pledged him. So it's the HBCU was the foundation, and it allows us to succeed even when others say we're not supposed to.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think we have gotten drawn by the glitz and glamour of the Miamis and Florida States and, you know, even the USFs. I tell people all the time, I say HBCUs aren't for everybody. However, if you look early enough and hard enough, you'll find one that you can make it at.
Oh, absolutely.
Earlier today, I found out one of my old teammates from Kentucky State died last night. Blew my mind. I haven't seen him since '89. And he wasn't a close friend, but I knew him well enough, and I'm just like, whoa, man, wait a minute. I'm sitting there, I'm starting to well up. And that's the connection that you get at an HBCU because your class sizes are smaller. He wasn't even a Kappa, he was an Omega. Was cool enough to invite me to their smoker. And I went, but I told him, hey man, my dad is a Kappa.
Right.
I just went out of gratitude for y'all. He said, well, man, hey, I'm glad you told us that. You know, appreciate it.
Kept it real, yeah.
And him and 2 or 3 others been to this day still friends. You know, and that's that HBCU bond that a lot of people don't get. I said, I can't explain it to a lot of people, but it's almost as deep as Kappa.
Yeah.
It's almost as deep. I did a family tree one time of everybody who was HBCU connected between my family and my wife's family. Albany State, North Carolina A&T, Florida A&M, Bethune-Cookman, St. Augustine, Howard, North Carolina Central, Grambling, Clarke Atlanta, Florida Memorial. And that's just off the top of my head what I remember.
Right.
My dad went to Florida Memorial when it was in St. Augustine.
Interesting.
And a lot of people don't know that Florida Memorial was once in St. Augustine.
I had an uncle that went there, so I remember that story.
And a lot of people don't realize that in the state of Florida, you have all of the junior colleges. See, if you look up the list of HBCUs that are no longer existent, the state of Florida, most of your junior colleges were HBCUs. Wow. Because they started them because they didn't want whites, they didn't want blacks to go to the predominantly white colleges. Right. They wanted to go to the Florida States. So they created a Lincoln Junior College, which was nothing more than a glorified high school. And then later, Lincoln Junior College folded, I think it was Lincoln or Gordon, folded into Indian River State College. Oh, okay. It's, and I tell people all the time, I say, there's a lot of history involved that a lot of people don't know. Like Albany State, there was a main road that went straight through campus. You can still see it. It's no longer a road, but now it's like, you can tell it's a grassy area with sidewalks through it. But at one time, white men used to speed down that lane in their cars. Well, they hit the president's son. He wasn't the president then.
Okay.
But they struck one of his sons and killed him. They didn't get any charges.
Of course not.
They didn't get any charges. It was back in the 40s, 50s. You know, things like that. When Sidney Poitier came to my hometown to do a show, they wouldn't let him stay in his hotel. He had to stay on campus.
He stayed on y'all campus.
Stay on our campus. And when I found out, I was like, we should have found that room and we should have
did something for him, yeah.
We should have found that door and said, this is the room he stayed in. We need to make this a shrine. I was reading something the other day. Lee Elder. I think Lee Elder, when he played in the first Masters, first black player in the Masters, they would not serve him at one of the restaurants. The president of Payne College said, don't worry about it. All your meals going to come from the college. And I guarantee he got better food.
Oh, I'm sure. Oh, yeah.
So a lot of people don't get the history. They don't know about the Fisk Jubilee singers traveling all over the country and the world really raising money for the college. Bethune-Cookman still does it. Their choir still travels around the world. They do pretty much a barnstorming tour. They're all over the place before COVID. There was nothing to see them do 3 concerts in 2 days.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And a lot of people, we got away from that. We got away from our roots.
What do you think caused us to get away from our roots? Because I mean, you're talking about a lot of history that I don't even think my generation knows. And this is stuff that they need to be told.
We got away from our roots when, I'm going to be blunt and honest, when we were integrated. When you give a few of us a little bit, we think we've arrived. And we forget those behind us.
Right.
People don't want to do bake sales now. They just want to write a check. You know, they don't want to do a bake sale. Now they want to have somebody cater the dinner. There's no love in it. There's no love. There's no emotion in it. It's all a business transaction now. We got away from what made us good. And a lot of people say when they desegregated, when they integrated the colleges and let black athletes go play at the white schools, that hurt us. It did, but the other thing that hurt us is the fact that our sports programs aren't supported by the public.
Right. I've been a little child noticing that growing up, always seeing the regular PWIs in bowl games or just a regular season game. And I always wondered as a child, why I'll never see FAMU, why I'll never see Bethune. I always wondered that as a child. Of course, as I got older, it kind of was blunt and obvious, but.
It's done, but you have 2 schools of thought. You have some who feel like HBCUs shouldn't be playing they should do a black college championship. They should get in the playoffs and play what we used to call Division I AA schools, or the FCS schools. I'm of the opinion that although we have just talented athletes, we cannot compete with those schools because we don't have the scholarship
to pull in the type of recruitment.
Well, the issue of recruitment is that we lost our pipeline. See, years ago, black colleges didn't have to recruit because we were the only thing going. It was just a question of what black schools you're going to.
Right.
What they would do is they would send out their graduates to they were teachers and turn into be principals or coaches. And I never forget, again, a track coach at Albany State, Robert Cross, he would sit in the stands. He was an old school guy. He was alpha. And he'd have a bag of parched peanuts. And he would sit there, eat the peanuts, and he would watch the track meet. He would have a pile of shells underneath him. He would never call a kid over, coaches would bring their kids over to him.
Mm.
And he talked to them, write the name down or whatever time they ran on his paper. These coaches either ran for him or against him when they were in college. And he had a natural network of athletes. I think he won 13 or 14 conference championships in the 70s and 80s. We got away from what made us good resource-wise, and we started thinking that their Kool-Aid was sweeter. The other thing we did wrong was we didn't do a good job with our money. What little funds we were given by the entities or whatever, that'd be some mismanagement. And that's the biggest thing, because once you show black people that you kind of funny with the money, they ain't gonna give it to you no more.
Right.
Perfect
if it happens to
example.
one school, it seems like all the HBCUs now fall under that stereotype if one school gets caught up at that.
No. I can name 5 schools right now that have had monetary problems in the last 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Texas Southern, they had a provost redecorate her office with like $20,000 worth of furniture. FAM had issues about 7 years ago where they had people who were still weren't even employed by the school still getting checks. They had groundskeepers with cell phones. Everybody knows about Cookman and their mismanagement.
Yeah.
Who else was it? There's some issues at Savannah State, which is why they had to drop down. A lot of it kept swept under the rug, but all it takes is 1 or 2 schools. And when you talk about 5 schools, it swells. Grambling had issues with their mismanagement. We don't do a good enough job selling ourselves. Because when people graduate from HBCUs, they badmouth. There's you don't want to go there, you got to wait forever for financial aid.
I've heard that a lot, yeah.
You're not going to find nobody saying that about a PWI school. They might have some similar issues, but they're not going to broadcast it. What they do is,
that is true.
Say, this is a person you need to call to make sure that this is done right. I was lucky enough to know who to call to make sure I didn't have those issues.
Right.
But it's all about who you talk to and how you talk to. We are our biggest commercial for
Absolutely.
Our institutions. That's why every Thursday I'm wearing something Albany State related. Thursday is Albany State or Capital. Friday is my school or Capital. And there are so many ways that we could fix it, but the problem is people have to think it needs to be fixed. A lot of people are happy. I mean, I root for Alabama just like anybody else because I love a good program.
Right.
But at the end of the day, the reason my daughter left Bethune and ended up going somewhere else was because 1, it was too much money, and 2, they didn't have the major she needed. She got her foundation at HBCU.
Right.
So she's graduated from PWI. But that's where her foundation was. Her 1.5 years was there. We have a disconnect because a lot of people think that history is not something that needs to be told. I mean, a lot of people don't know about the shooting incident at South Carolina State.
Right.
A lot of people don't know about that. They don't know about Orangeburg when the state troopers fired on the crowd. They don't know that SCLC was founded in Albany. Dr. King came to Albany, Georgia. They don't know about that.
Right.
They don't know that. I mean, there's things at Albany State that happened that a lot of people are unfamiliar with. Ray Charles came and gave us $5 million to do a fine arts center. We didn't break ground for that fine arts center until 2 years ago. He died over 10 years ago.
They just broke ground 2 years ago? Oh, wow.
Yeah, it was some things with the money.
Okay.
Yeah, there was some things with the money, and look here, y'all need to spend this money where they said spend it.
Yeah.
when HBCUs are private, they are better off than those that are public.
Interesting. Why so?
When you're private, you got more of that we got to do it ourselves mentality. When you public, you're going to depend on that public money.
That's true.
Tuskegee's got to for their private school. Morehouse is a private school. So is Clarke, so is Spelman, so is Thune-Cookman.
Right.
Up until the last Crook they had at Cookman, they didn't have any problems.
Right.
Yeah, he messed them over with that.
He did, yeah.
And you've got pockets of resistance because our administration doesn't want to relinquish their power. That's why I'm so happy with what happened at Edward Waters, because they were stuck in the 70s. And when they went and hired the president they have now, that was touch and go, because now they have somebody who can be there until he decides he wants to leave.
Right.
41. I think what helped him is the fact that his wife is a ordained minister. Young couple. He's a lawyer, so he knows the cross the T's and dots the I's. The next 3 years is going to be critical for them. It's going to be very critical for them. They're going to have to up their enrollment and do it in a careful manner so they don't grow too big.
Right, too fast.
They're locked in. They can't grow anymore.
Do you think Morris Brown will ever come back?
Morris Brown just got their accreditation today.
Oh.
They are back. I just read that today. They got their accreditation.
That is awesome. Okay.
They are back. I was talking to somebody the other day. I said, I have a way that HBCUs can help themselves. Most of your HBCUs they're not in the hood, but they're in the neighborhood where you got houses nearby.
Right.
Well, most of these houses are home houses or houses that older people live in. When they pass away, or before they pass away, hey, would you consider leaving this school to us in your will? Now that house becomes a satellite building for the university. If you've got, say you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house or a 3-3, now you can use that either for visiting professors. You can take the bedrooms out and use it for an office. Or you can, those are the first two. I wouldn't rent it out to academic. I would rent it out to students.
Right.
But I would do that and use it as a satellite office, because now you don't need all of that storage. You don't need to build a new building. You know, alumni affairs, give them this house. Give them 2 or 3 offices. You got a little small kitchenette. You got bathrooms.
Right.
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And it allows you to grow, and then it also helps you because now you take the house, you get your alumni to come in and fix it up, because what we don't do is we don't use our resources. If you've got an alumni who owns an electrical company, he'd be more than willing to come in and take this house and do the electrical on it as a tax write-off.
Right. Yeah.
Same with the painting, same with the landscape. You have the university's landscaping come and take care of it. You put an alarm system on it, just like you would a normal school building. Your police patrol that area. Now any houses nearby, you got an extra set of eyes on that house.
That's true.
The neighbors know it's after 5 o'clock. Nobody should be over there. You paint it the school's colors, so everybody knows this is a house that belongs to the university. Put a sign out front to tell you what it is and what office is found here. You know, thinking outside of the box. And that way you don't have to tear down a house or try and buy a block to build a new building. Just repurpose them houses. You know.
So tapping into resources and improving endowment, those are probably 2 of the main issues to kind of really help HBCUs go into a better direction.
Tap into resources and endowments and building your brand. We do not build our brand. Tuskegee does something every fall. every spring, where the alumni, because they're an architecture school, the alumni come in and they help do things on campus. I even mentioned to somebody, you could look and see what alumni has a landscaping business.
Right.
And say, hey, will you come in and do our landscaping for a month or for a week? Give our landscaping crew a week off. It's a tax write-off for you. It's a win-win.
Absolutely.
The yard is cut, now they've got a landscaping. The other thing I think we need to do a better job of is identifying need. We don't do a good job of identifying need. It goes back to the money issue. The church in my hometown, they partnered with a white church and bought some land. And the church, you remember the movie Facing the Giants?
Yes.
The football movie. That was in my hometown. Well, the church that sponsored that movie partnered with my church at home.
Okay.
They funded for them when they went to buy the land because the price was going to change dramatically if they knew a black church was buying it.
Okay.
That was 14 years ago. The church will be paid off in 10 months. Multi-million-dollar church will be paid off. They did it all through donations. That is because when you see where the money is going,
right,
you give. And HBCUs need to do a better job of that. Our image needs to change.
How would you describe y'all image now?
Mine or HBCU?
Just overall.
With the exception of the SWAC, I think a lot of people are still kind of iffy about HBCUs. The SWAC is getting a lot of buzz because of Dion.
Right. I was going to ask you what you thought about that.
I knew something was up the minute I found out he graduated from Stillman last spring.
Oh, okay.
He was short of his degree, and he went to Stillman. All of the places he could have went, he went to Stillman. I believe he had a hiccup at Stillman. And for him to go to Jackson State as a coach, you got to know what you're getting into with him. It's going to be a media show. If it's not done right, he's going to talk about it.
Right, right.
Well, he should. I think a lot of the criticism he's getting is because it's Dion. See, in the black community, if you show people or tell people if you expose our dirt to the community as a whole, you're ostracized.
Yeah.
Yeah, we know HBCU's been doing.
Yeah.
We know. It's new to us.
Yeah.
But the minute you tell everybody else about it, now you're the bad guy.
Right, because you're supposed to keep it in the family. You're supposed to tell people our business.
Been in the family for 7 years. The other issue I have is Tennessee State just hired Eddie George.
I saw that.
He's never coached a down football group.
Nope.
So I have an issue with that because now you're saying all these assistant coaches at the college level, all these high school head coaches who want to go there someday, now that's a slap in the face to them. And the fact that he's hired Jeff Fisher as his, more or less his advisor in terms of hiring.
Right.
In my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you're not the head coach. You're the titular head coach. One of these other guys is going to be the head coach. You don't know anything about logistics of having a football team.
No. Do you think it's going to start a negative trend? They're going to go get these big name people, Dion, Eddie George. Yeah.
Dion, I read today, Dion says there's a couple other guys that want to coach.
Right.
The jury's still out on Dion because he won their first 2 games, and that's it. He's got to make that long bus ride from Jackson to Daytona. They don't have the money to fly the whole team in the Daytona. He got to make that long bus ride.
Right.
And if he sends them on the bus and he flies instead, he sends them that message to his team.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, Jackson State got to play the Bethune-Cookmans and Florida A&M's. They're the one everybody is loaded for bear now. They're waiting on. He's going to do good for recruiting, but I find it odd that he went to Mississippi of all states.
Right.
Probably go to the most racist state in the country. Historically racist. You know,
didn't they just recently take down the Confederate flag?
Just took it down about 18 months, maybe 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I still say, and some of us believe that in 5 years he's going to Florida State. He's going to make a big splash there, and he's going to Florida State.
You use the HBCU for leverage, to get his feet wet a little bit.
Wouldn't be the first.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first, and he won't be the last. I think that in terms of HBCUs, we have to get back to what we used to do. When you have the football classics, classics were designed because, in my opinion, you had alumni who wanted to show off at neutral sites. Now you got a classic, you got 2 or 3 classic games every week.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be that many classic HBCU games. You only got one rival.
Right.
Fans trying to play one classic game. That's cooking. You know, we started playing the white schools, and they don't come to our stadiums and bring money in. It should be a home at home, because a lot of people want to go to the big cities and show off, because I've heard some people say, well, we don't want to come back. What you mean you don't want to come back? You know, you got a school like Tuskegee, where Lionel Richie's one of the greatest alums they got.
Right.
They don't court him like they should, because some things, allegedly, some things happened years ago, and he's like, okay, bump y'all. A lot of people don't know it. Lonnie Johnson is the inventor of the Super Soaker.
Wow.
Graduated from Tuskegee. A lot of people don't know that. He's a millionaire 10, 15, 20 times over.
Right.
You know, it's customer service. You know, I tell people all the time, you know, when you're dealing with an HBCU, keep your paperwork. I hate to say it, but that's the way we're conditioned and taught. If they give you a receipt, keep it and hold on to it. If you call somebody, you better email them and follow that up with a phone call.
Absolutely.
Follow that phone call up with an email. Because if you don't, your interaction with them is going to get pushed to the wayside. We have a resource system where we have hundreds, if not thousands, of educators there, but we don't have counselors. That's the disconnect. When you don't have counselors with HBCU experience in the high schools, these kids are not directed toward HBCUs.
Right.
They're directed toward junior colleges and PWIs, and that's not for everybody. Some kids, you know, would do great at going to a FAM for architecture or engineering.
Right.
A lot of people don't know it. The FAM has $1 billion ag department. Multi-million-dollar. But our kids don't know that.
Nope.
They've got USDA grants every year. They just want to spend money. Know about it. You know, I think that we are on the verge, because last summer when everybody said, oh, we stand with you, we stand in solidarity with you. Okay, I understand that, but are you standing with me when it's time for my graduates to get a job?
Right.
Do you stand with me in giving me some money to keep my doors open?
Right.
And then colleges go after the big money. if you notice, think about the last Classic game you went to. We stood up at halftime and they handed that somebody donated a $25,000
Oh,
check.
absolutely.
But they don't say anything about the person who gives 10 or 15 bucks every pay period. They chase the big money.
That is true.
I'm not saying don't chase the big money, but you got people out there who will give you $20, $25 a pay period.
And still, you still need to appreciate those. Like you said, customer service.
And they don't get it because we got away from it. We got away from going out and getting all of the coins we could. Now we just want the folded money. No, you give me enough coins, it's gonna make folded money.
And these HBCUs, there's so many extremely rich and successful celebrities, or just, you know, successful people. They may not be famous, but they're very financially well-off people. But it's like the schools are struggling.
Here's I tell my wife and I have a running joke because she went to Tuskegee. They got architects,
yeah,
engineers. They got cats over there that'll write a $5 or $6 or $7 or $10,000 check.
Oh yeah.
And they may not publicize it. They're gonna drop that money.
That's
Same
true.
thing with North Carolina A&T.
Uh-huh.
See, if your school is geared towards certain disciplines, you've got access to that money. If you got an engineering program or architecture or medical program, you got some graduates who got that kind of money. Morehouse has that.
Yeah.
Tuskegee has that. Howard has that. A&T has that. FAM has that. But your other schools don't necessarily have that. That's why there's another unspoken issue among HBCUs is the have and have-nots. It goes back to how you market your institution.
That's true.
See, Hollywood thinks you only got 5 HBCUs.
Yeah.
And we're talking about Black Hollywood.
That's true.
Black Hollywood, Tuskegee, FAM,
Howard,
Spelman, Howard. That's it. Just those 5 schools. They don't say anything about the Hamptons, North Carolina Centrals, the St. Augustine's, the Albany States, the Fort Valleys, the South Carolina States, the Lanes,
Johnson C. Smith,
the Kentucky State, the Wilberforce,
right,
Central State, Bowie State. They don't say anything about those schools. A lot of people don't realize it, but Delaware State has an aeronautics program. You go to Delaware State and learn how to fly a plane. They actually have planes in their fleet on campus.
Right.
White kids know about it.
Yeah, I bet they do. Yeah. And probably take good advantage of it.
They take advantage of it. To be a vendor, there's all sorts of little connectivities. When you want to help the schools, but the schools make it difficult to help.
For you to be able, yeah.
I approached a company once about making a product, and the minute they found out I had an HBCU logo, we need 20,000 units. Yeah, you mean 20,000 units? Just a minute ago, you were saying just 5. Oh, we need 20,000 units. Why? We're not sure they're going to sell.
Because it's attached to an HBCU.
Because it's attached to HBCU, and I knew the product was going to sell. I said, this will sell, I can sell 50,000. I don't see why I got to put 20,000 up front. So I just let it go. You know, I think we don't help ourselves in that we don't own companies that make these products so that we can, again, use our resources. If there was a shirt company owned by Black folks, you know, that'd be something. We have a fraternity brother. I helped pledge him. He is the first African-American owned watch company in the country.
Wow.
Man, it might be 45, maybe. Doing very well. And he just came across something where it's not, he doesn't have a vendor license to do fraternities and sororities. Sells a very nice, tasteful watch, and the band canvas So he's got a purple and gold one, he's got a blue and white one, he's got a red and white one, he's got a pink and gray, he's got a blue and yellow one, he's got a black and gold.
Right.
So not one for all
of us. Mm-hmm.
Doesn't have the Greek letters on it,
but it has the colors.
It's so nice. I think his watches go anywhere from $150 to $300. And I tell him every time I see him, I say, man, I'm proud of you. But our HBCUs aren't thinking about that.
Right.
If I had an alum that owned a watch company, I'd be bringing him in to speak to all of the business classes I got. Years ago, one of the presidents of Tuskegee, matter of fact, the last one, 2 presidents ago, was a young black guy.
Right.
He made alliance or connection with a purse company. Can't remember. I think it was Dooney and Burke. And they made a TU bag. And he did a small run. He gave it to certain people. And my wife saw it. She's like, they need to sell that. Hold on 1 minute.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm back, dude.
Okay.
It was Vera Bradley. Now imagine if you had Vera Bradley, somebody from Vera Bradley to make those bags. Imagine how well it would have gone if they had done a line of TU bags made by Vera Bradley. See, that's the kind of placement that we don't get.
Right.
I know right now there's Dooney and Burke Florida Gator bags.
Yeah.
You don't even have to do a bag. You can do a doggone keychain, the little leather keychain with that little with the fob on it, and it says Vera Bradley or Dooney and Burke. That is a different level
of brand. Yeah, a great way to start. Got to start somewhere.
But and the women will buy it. Hell, the men will buy it because I know right now, Vera Bradley. If I had a Vera Bradley Tuskegee bag, I'm gonna take it and save my money, and that's gonna be an anniversary present.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't think of these ideas, but there's so many hindrances to these ideas.
Yeah.
I've approached a couple of companies about making some stuff, and they tell me like X number, you know, it dissuades you, but at the same time, I think the universities could make it a little easier because they could take on some of these same things and use it as a money-making venture for themselves to help bring money in, because at the end of the day, it's all about money.
Absolutely.
If you don't have money, you can't keep the doors open. You got to have the money to attract the programs that will attract the kids. Right now, the arms race at HBCUs, I call it the arms race. They will put in a new student center because that's what the kids want. Well, last time I checked, student centers closed 7, 8 o'clock at night.
Right. That's true.
So, but that's the way they're going. I mean, Albany State spent millions on one about 5 years ago. The old one is still standing.
Right.
So now what do you do with what do you need 2 student centers for?
That's true.
You know, that's the kind of misguided thinking. Unless you're going to tear it down and make it a dormitory, you could always use another one or make it a classroom. What are you going to do?
Right.
I don't know. Every HBCU has flaws and ills.
Things to work on, yeah.
Things to work on. They're still, in my opinion, the best thing going, because they prepare you for life.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
They prepare you for life. You don't have any more instructors like the one I had when I was in Albany I remember the Monday after I crossed on a Sunday night. Monday morning, I had to be in class bright and early. I was on time. I had my Kappa sweatshirt on.
Right.
And he knew our players. The teacher was like, after class, Mr. Frazier, glad to see you. You finished that up. He said, I don't have to worry about you failing now, do I? Well, man, you know, it's that camaraderie.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of people don't. You can explain it to them, but they wouldn't believe you.
Nope.
I remember I was home. I was cheating. I had one girl in one dorm and one in another dorm. And Tuesday night I was with this one girl, and Wednesday night I was in the other dorm with this other girl. And all the people that bust me out, it was a custodian. She said, "Baby, weren't you down at the other dorm with that other girl?" But I know why she did it. She did it because she knew the girl I was with wasn't no good, no way.
Okay.
She told me later, she's like, "Baby, you ain't need to be with her. She with somebody. She with a different boy every night." I hadn't picked up on that shit.
Right, but she knew.
Because she was the unseen eyes and ears of the campus. They knew everything. You know, if I had to do all over again, knowing everything I know, I would go back, but I'd make a few different changes. Best experiences of my life.
I've always said that I feel like with none of my degrees, I went to HBCU, and I always felt like I did myself a disservice. And I've always said that and the crazy part about it is, I applied for HBCUs, but I chose a PWI. I chose Florida International University. I applied to Tuskegee and Johnson C. Smith. And I got applied to all. I mean, I got accepted to all of them. But if I could go back in time, I really feel like I would have chosen Tuskegee. Just looking at my life experiences and just looking at all the amazing people I've met who have come from HBCUs and the history and just things that you guys that were instilled in y'all on a daily basis that you just don't get outside of an HBCU.
But the thing is, like, and I tell my wife all the time, you guys don't get it. When they were at Tuskegee, they had a guy on campus who was a descendant of one of the syphilis patients.
Oh, from the okay.
Walking history in Tuskegee. I'm like, you guys had that on campus.
Yeah.
You know, it's to, or like for me with, I tell people all the time, I say, you got to look at, is there a support system at that college from day one? Do you have somebody who, if you get sick and you need to get a bowl of a warm soup or just a home cooked meal, can you get it and not be putting anybody out? That's the thing that I tell all my students, when you get ready to go to college, no matter where it is, make sure you got somebody there who can take care of you until your people get there.
Right.
You know, and when I was in Kentucky, I had that. I had somebody there, and people don't understand that the web, because when I was in Kentucky my first year, one of my father's coworkers was working there. The coach that recruited me was there. Another coach that worked for my dad and worked with my dad was there. He was a dorm. That first year, after the coach that recruited me left, I still had those two people here. I would go over to the girls' dormitory, the co-ed dorm, and get, if I wanted a plate of food, it has some
Absolutely.
Green, I always had something on the pot.
Absolutely.
It matters that I was dating a girl in his dorm. He said, "Frazier, you want a key?" "No, coach, I got it. I don't need a key. I'll come on in." "Hey, man, you need a key. I'll give it to you." You know, you don't get that.
Correct.
And my wife is still in touch with one of her professors from Tuskegee to this day. And we're talking over 30 years later.
Well, that's it for the zone today. We are officially shutting it down. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. And until next time, remember this. Never let the influences of the modern world affect your morals or who you are.